WrestleMania 42 is reportedly set yet again for Las Vegas, and not only that, maybe Las Vegas on a regular basis? Before we get into all of that new news that is just continually dropping around this horrendous fucking situation that is no doubt driven by the greed of TKO executives, I'm Def, aka Sammy. Also, I am once again recording from inside of my car on my break, so do forgive the audio quality if it's a little bit less than what I would typically hold myself to in terms of standards with audio quality. And one last thing, if you do enjoy these videos, this content, go ahead and head on over to the WrestleFresh X Twitter/X account if you want to be featured in future videos, or if you hate these takes and you just want to argue with me ad infinitum in the replies, you're more than welcome to do that as well. But without further ado, let's talk about what it is that is going on with the mindset of TKO and how this has affected all of the, not only the consumers, but also a lot of the indie promotions, a lot of the conventions that were planned for WrestleMania weekend that were going to be happening in New Orleans, and how those have all been affected. So first things first, let's go ahead and dive into what's happening. Well, that was scary. Let's go ahead and dive into what's going on with the consumer level, because that's ultimately who I care about the most. This has been a grave situation for anybody who has bought plane tickets, who has bought hotel tickets, anything that is adjacent to WrestleMania weekend, planning of that traveling. This has completely fucked over all of those people. Over on the WrestleMania Plans Reddit page, there are people who are posting the fact that the hotel that they booked a reservation for that weekend are saying that all of those bookings are 100% non-refundable. I also had a guy over on Twitter tell me that he booked his plane tickets through Priceline, and they will not refund those plane tickets or allow him to change it to a different destination. He was planning on taking his son to WrestleMania, and now that's just not happening for them anymore, you know, as it stands, unless either something happens to get that money back into his account, or if he just wants to eat the cost of those plane tickets and then also buy tickets for potentially Vegas. We don't even know if it is Vegas yet. We do have it completely set in stone, though, at this point, that it is not going to be in New Orleans. On the WWE events page on their official website, WrestleMania 42 is just no longer listed. So a lot of reports came out that it was some undisclosed city had paid a substantial amount of money in order to get WrestleMania 42 out of New Orleans and moved to whatever this new city is. So for a lot of people, this raised a bunch of eyebrows, like, oh my God, this sounds like 100% something that would be, you know, like a Saudi Arabian city, maybe Riyadh, maybe somewhere else. But to a lot of people, that's what it seemed like at first. However, there's a lot of talk coming from people who are close to those circles who are saying it's looking like it's going to be in Las Vegas, Nevada once again, whether or not that's at Allegiant Stadium. Some people are throwing around that it might be the Sphere. I highly doubt that. Regardless, it's looking like it's going to be Las Vegas for a second year in a row. Now, this, of course, is having a lot of fingers pointed directly at the TKO board. Now, me personally, I also think it has something to do with the fact that Las Vegas tourism has been on a steep decline, what with inflation and everything going on. People aren't really wanting to just go gamble their money away in Las Vegas, or just overpriced exorbitant restaurants or events that are taking place there. People are not traveling to Las Vegas in the droves that they once were, and Las Vegas is probably hurting because, after all, they make a shit ton of money off of tourism. So I do think this is a little bit of a double-edged sword. Allegedly, they are planning to make this a scenario where if Las Vegas doesn't have like the Super Bowl or some other major sporting event going on in Las Vegas, they want to tap WWE so that they can get WrestleMania in Las Vegas to sort of fill that gap for that year. Now, to a lot of wrestling fans, this is a huge blow to just, like, I guess, morale, to the way that they're feeling about the company in general, for multiple reasons. Not only because it shows that at the end of the day, TKO isn't about letting wrestling fans have an amazing experience. It's more about the bottom line. How much money can TKO make? And how can they fill their pockets just a little bit more, regardless of who it screws over? And speaking of screwing people over, this isn't just screwing over the consumer. I did mention that. This is also screwing over any promotions, any indie promotions, conventions that were planning on having their event organized around the same time as WrestleMania weekend. We've already seen that WrestleCon, they are now potentially having to eat the bill on a venue that they rented for that weekend in New Orleans for WrestleMania. So now you're stepping on the the toes and taking food out of the mouths of, smaller promotions or, just conventions that are trying to get themselves in a position to have as many people come to their conventions as possible. And as many people know, there's a ton of like indie wrestling promotions that will also book their shows around the same time as WrestleMania weekend. That way, leading up to WrestleMania, all the people who are there for that event can go check out some smaller promotions. They can get some clout. They can get some buzz going around on their name and how cool their indie promotion is. And that ultimately helps those on the indie circuit have like a wonderful crowd, a bigger weekend than they possibly ever have before, especially if they're just now getting into the indie scene. This is going to affect all of them in such a detrimental manner that it ultimately just becomes the level of unforgivable in terms of what TKO is doing. Not only that, but you're also seeing issues with like, what about all the other potential cities that we've had amazing WrestleMania events at? Plus, now you are eliminating the, I don't want to use the word, but the aura that comes with WrestleMania going to a new city, having new designs, a new stage design that is specific to that city. Some of the coolest ones ever have been like New York WrestleManias. There was WrestleMania 21, I believe it was. WrestleMania goes Hollywood later on. I mean, so many just iconic WrestleMania set designs that what's going to happen now? If we're regularly in Las Vegas, are you going to just reuse the same design? Is it going to be the same stage as last year? Because I mean, ultimately that would save them the most money. You don't have to make a brand new stage. You don't have to go all out and ball out of control on a new stage design. You can just reuse it because it's the same city, right? And like ultimately there's not a whole lot that you could really do in terms of Las Vegas design. They kind of went all in, no pun intended, on those poker designs and all of that. I see in my future a lot of reused assets this year. Maybe even the Golden Championship that they released at this WrestleMania 41. What if they just reuse that belt design? I'm sorry, with how creative has been in terms of music and trons and all of that, doesn't seem like there's a whole lot of creative energy going on behind the scenes of WWE post TKO takeover. Ultimately, I do think this is just not a good thing for anybody involved, except of course those who are on the board of TKO, those who are at the top of WWE. Obviously, they're getting a payday. Like, that's not negotiable. They are getting a payday. So it's not like WWE is going to be struggling in terms of money. But I do think this spells disaster moving forward. If all TKO is really focused on is just making money and that's it, what's to say that, we're going to see a whole bunch of other changes? I mean, after all, whenever it comes to the UFC, if you're not a big guy, you're not getting paid a lot of money. Are we going to see that with mid-carders in the WWE? Are we going to potentially see WWE PLEs, like especially WrestleMania? Are those going to be, oh, you can't watch this on Peacock or, WWE Network or Netflix internationally, whatever it is. You can't watch these on those anymore. You're going to have to pay $100 for pay-per-view on, say, WrestleMania. I don't know. I don't want to give TKO any ideas. I'm just saying, if they're this obsessed with just lining their pockets, who knows what the future holds for the product. So ultimately, we don't know if it is going to be Vegas, but all signs in this current moment are pointing towards Las Vegas as being the destination for WrestleMania 42 in 2026. We do know that Money in the Bank will now be in New Orleans in 2026, but as far as WrestleMania is concerned, it's looking like we may just see repeat after repeat of Las Vegas moving forward. So ultimately, I wanted to get that out. I wanted to talk about all of the little intricacies, the butterfly effect of this situation and how it's going to affect, again, other promotions, the consumers who now cannot get their hotels or their plane tickets refunded, or even like, indie promotions, conventions. It sucks. It sucks for everybody involved who's not TKO or WWE. I want to hear your thoughts on this, because this just seems just horrible. Anyway, this has been Def. Again, go ahead and check out the WrestleFresh X over on Twitter/X. We are very, very, very close to 100 followers. So let's go ahead and bump that up, get it up to 100. Yeah, dude, I guess as more information comes out, I will keep this updated and I will let you know. But it's not looking good.